So we're continuing with circles. And before we get into the geometry, I want you to know how we use what we're about to study. And here's something that's familiar to you. This is a pie chart. Now it's different than most pie charts that you see because it's not labeled in percentages like we're used to seeing, but it's labeled in degrees. In geometry, we know that a circle has 360 degrees. And so we can see what part of 360 degrees are taken up in this chart. So the chart is about how long people brush their teeth. And the nice thing about a pie chart is we can see that the majority of the people are brushing their teeth for 145 to 120 degrees. That's not giving me minutes. It's not giving me percentages. It's giving me degrees. But the other thing I hope you know, you may notice if you were to take time and add up these numbers, 120 degrees plus 145 degrees plus 13 degrees plus 82 degrees, you will see that the entire circle adds up to 360 degrees. And so it's possible to change this information into percentages if we chose. So what does this have to do with circles? Well, here we have a circle, and it has a center C, and there are a bunch of points on the circle, but I'm going to highlight points A and B. And since point A and B are on the circle, they represent or form an arc. And this is an arc, AB, and we indicate an arc with a little arch or a little arc over top of the two letters. And this is a part of the circle. And the question is, what part of the circle? Well, the measurement of arc AB happens to be the same as the measurement of the angle that forms it. And here we have the angle ACB. So the measure of arc AB is the same as the measure of arc ACB. Remember, when we're naming angles with three letters, the vertex goes in the center of the two letters. And this particular angle, whose vertex is the middle of the circle, is called a central angle. So that's an important word. I'm going to write it down. Central angle. And that's an angle whose vertex is the center. So the vertex of the angle is the center of the circle. Is the center of the circle. Now, since this angle marks out this arc, we're going to define whatever this angle is to be the exact same measurement as the arc. So this looks like it's about 50 degrees, say, somewhere around 45, 50 degrees. So that means that this arc measurement is 50 degrees. And we can say that they're both equal to 50 degrees. Now notice this arc is just a small part of the circle. So we're going to look at another arc. It's going to draw the segment in through from the center to D. And here's another arc, BD. I'm going to mark it in a different color. And the key thing I want you to notice is if I ask a question about what's the measurement of the arc from A all the way to D, or the measure of AD, it's going to be this arc plus this arc. They're right next to one another. And so we can see that the measure of arc AD is going to equal to the measure of arc AB plus the measure of arc BD. And I don't know how much that is, but this angle is greater than 90 degrees. So we're just going to call this 60 degrees. And we can see the measure of arc AD is going to equal to 50 degrees plus 60 degrees, which is equal to 110 degrees. That should be AD. So just like with angles, adjacent arcs that are right next to one another, we can just add up their measurements. 60 degrees. Okay? It's really all as simple as that. I just want to add two additional pieces of information. First of all, we know the entire circle has 360 degrees. Right? That's a circle. Well, half a circle is called a semicircle. And a semicircle has 180 degrees. So that's one thing we just want to have in the back of our minds to do these problems. We know the whole is 360. We just need to know what the sum of the parts are. The final thing is something about naming arcs. Notice I said AD, and I was indicating this smaller angle from A to D. But what if I meant this larger angle that's also going from A all the way to D? How do I distinguish that? Well, one of the things we're going to define is that there's a thing called a minor arc. I tend to call them baby arcs, by the way. But a minor arc has less than 180 degrees. And a major arc has more than 180 degrees. So for this, I'll use two letters. And this I'll use three letters. And the reason I'm using three letters is that center letter is giving me a direction. If I say AD, I don't know if you mean counterclockwise or clockwise. But if I tell you start at A, go through E, and finish at D, then I have this major arc that we're going to call arc A, E, D. So here's the minor arc, and as soon as I see two letters, I know it's fewer than 180 degrees. And if I see three letters, I know it's either equal to 180 or greater than 180 degrees. So this is how we're going to do these problems. We're going to add up the measures of arcs. And keep in mind, if I just give you the measurement of the arc, you know the measurement of the angle, because the measurement of the central angle is the same as the measurement of the arc. So we're going to have some practice problems to show you how to do these. And but today we just want to understand what's at the root of it, understand some of these words, and the idea that we can add up the smaller arcs in a circle until we arrive at an entire circle of 360 degrees.